Have you ever noticed how some countries kind of seem to have a split personality? They call themselves one thing, but then, on our maps or in the news, we hear a totally different name. Well, it turns out this isn't some big mistake or a political argument. We're going to break down exactly why one country can have many names and how it's actually a completely normal part of our global community.
Just think about Germany. To the people who live there, it's Deutschland. If you're a Spanish speaker, you call it Alemania. And for us in English, well, it's Germany. See? It's not about confusion at all. It's the perfect example of how a single, recognized country can wear different name tags depending on who's doing the talking.
So what's going on here? How is that even possible? Is it some kind of political statement, a typo that just stuck? The answer is actually pretty simple, and you're not going to find it in law books or diplomatic treaties. The real key to this whole puzzle is in language itself. To really unpack this, we need to get our heads around two really important concepts. And honestly, once you get these, everything else about country names just clicks right into place. Okay, so here's the core of it. You have an endonym. That's the name a country uses for itself. It's their internal hometown name. So for Japan, the endonym is Nippon. Then you have the exonym, which is the name everyone else uses, like when we say Japan. Most countries have just that one endonym, but they can have literally dozens of exonyms all around the world. And this is so important to remember. We're not talking about politics or diplomacy right now. This is just a natural, fundamental fact of how languages grow and interact with each other. You could almost say it's a feature, not a bug, of our interconnected world. But if this is so normal, how do all these different names even show up? What causes a single name for a place to branch off into so many different versions? Well, names split off for a bunch of reasons. Sometimes a name gets translated. A lot of the time, foreigners just can't quite get their tongues around the local name, so they kind of smooth it out into something that's easier for them to say. Deep historical usage is a huge one. A name that's been used for hundreds of years isn't just going to disappear overnight. And of course, things like different alphabets or even old colonial spellings can create totally new versions of a name that stick around for good. And this timeline shows you exactly how that works. You start with one original local name, the endonym, from way back when. Then another culture comes along, but they adapt the sound to fit their own language. Boom, you got your first exonym. Centuries later, maybe a third language translates the meaning of the name instead of the sound, creating a whole other branch. You fast forward to today, and that one single root has blossomed into multiple names that are all coexisting and all perfectly valid. Okay, so this brings us to the modern day, where things can sometimes get a little tricky. What happens when a country decides, hey, we really prefer it if everyone used this name? And here we are at the key principle. A country can absolutely 100% ask the world to use a specific name. But that's exactly what it is, an ask. It's a diplomatic preference, not a legal order. No country on earth can dictate the vocabulary and the history of another language. So it's really important to get this. There's no international law that forces other countries or media outlets or entire language communities to suddenly adopt a state's preferred name. The names we all use are ultimately a matter of custom and convention, not legal obligation. Now, while everyday language is pretty flexible, official international business, that needs to be precise. To make sure everyone's on the same page in things like treaties and trade deals, organizations like the United Nations create standardized lists of country names just for formal use. And the reason for this standardization is purely practical. It's all about reducing confusion in official documents and making sure international databases are consistent. But here's the crucial part. These official lists are meant to coexist with the common everyday names people use. One doesn't just cancel out the other. And that leads us to another really common mix-up. Expressing a preference for an existing name is absolutely not the same thing as legally changing your country's name. Yeah, these are two totally different animals. A legal name change is a huge formal deal. It means a country has to pass its own internal laws and then officially tell the rest of the world. But this parallel naming thing we've been talking about, where endonyms and exonyms live side by side, that's just an organic linguistic thing. There are no laws involved at all. So let's wrap this all up by tackling a couple of common myths that pop up around this topic. The bottom line is really simple. This is about words, not about power. All right, first up is the myth that if you see two different names, you must be looking at two different states or two different political groups. But that's just not true.
Legally, diplomatically, Nippon and Japan, the endonym and the exonym refer to the exact same single sovereign state. No question.
And here's the next big myth, that using a country's exonym, like an English speaker saying Germany instead of Deutschland, is somehow disrespectful. In reality, it's really not. Using a long-established exonym is a normal part of how languages have worked for thousands of years. It's woven right into the historical fabric of a language. It's not meant as an insult to anyone. Which brings us to the final, most important takeaway here. The fact that a single country has multiple names has absolutely zero impact on its sovereignty, its international recognition, or its legitimacy on the world stage.
So the next time you see a country with more than one name, you'll know. It's not a mistake, it's a story. It's a fascinating echo of history, of migration, and of the beautiful, messy complexity of human language. And it really makes you wonder, right? As our world gets more and more connected, will we start to see more endonyms become the global standard? Or will this rich tapestry of exonyms just keep on thriving?